What in tarnation?
Howdy folks, this is Applegeek, and it is time to react to Season 7, Episode 17. Insert title here. Don't know the title of this one. I've not heard any hype or any hints or anything from anyone. Thank you. And, yeah, I also have been not really following comments too closely on my videos lately. I've got a lot of catching up on comments to do over the past several reactions, all the way back to Episode 14, so hopefully I'll get to those soon. Apologize if any of you are waiting for replies to me for anything, but yeah, just been super busy and trying to avoid spoilers and all that fun stuff. So anyway, but yeah, so there's no hype around this one, but I've got a pretty good feeling about this one, just because, if for no other reason, Season 7 has been the best season so far, and we've still got a ways to go. There's still another 7 episodes after this, and before the season finale. 9 if you include that, so yeah, let the best season of the show continue. Let's get this rolling. Starting now. Oh!
Straight to the Changeling Hive.
Changeling Kingdom!
I could do it. Well, not exactly straight,
and
Starlight. We've been popping all
that
around
Trixie.
Equestria, and we still have to walk.
It's like 12 steps away. Before Chrysalis's throne was destroyed, the closest magic would have gotten us was way over there.
We're really complaining about this again?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy do you think Thorax is going to be about our surprise visit?
Definitely 10.
Uh-oh.
I mean, who wouldn't
Is Discord gonna pop in here?
to marvel at the overwhelming talent that is the great and powerful Trixie!
Trixie, we're coming to offer Thorax encouragement and support. His letters make it seem like the responsibilities of being the Changeling leader are a little overwhelming.
True.
Yeah, I know. That's basically what I said.
He's dealing with the wants and needs of his subjects, redesigning the Hive, a dread Malworth wreaking havoc outside.
Okay.
It does sound like a
So
lot.
rebuilding
but
Hive.
Are you sure that last thing is real?
The dread Malworth? Sure it is. Thorax said it's like half bear, half mole, half raging pile of claws. But now that the Changelings don't feed on the love of everything around them, plants have started to grow back. But this Malworth keeps eating them all up.
Ooh.
Malworth. Uh-huh. You're just trying to scare me, but it won't work. Because not only am I the great and powerful, I am also the unscarable Trixie!
Oh, really now?
Please tell me Thorax
Is that a rogue changeling?
Fine-looking changeling who greets visitors but is actually nice? Nope.
And I'm not nice.
Nope. Yes, he's not. Oh, this just got real.
Starlight, you got us here. I'll take us home.
I don't know about that, Trixie.
Spell go! Did I say this? Nope.
Nope. Okay, wow. Well, Trixie still needs to work on her magic. We've now seen rogue changelings, which we just got revealed, like, what was that, 2 episodes ago? I did not expect this quick of turnaround on more changeling stuff, but it makes sense. Wow, so many thoughts going through my head. Rebuilding the old Hive, that's cool. We're gonna see an interesting mythical creature here or something, not sure, but please let Discord show up, please, please. He probably won't, but...
What are you waiting for? Use some magic.
He's going into the Hive?
Calm down, unscarable Trixie. We have to find out what's going on. Thorax might need our help.
Yeah, about the unscarable.
Teleportation
Change a
spell, go.
changeling?
Teleportation spell go! Ah! Teleportation spell!
Why do you keep doing that? You know it doesn't work that way.
I know, but this is my process.
I captured these trespassers.
Starlight! Trixie! It's
What's-
okay, Pharynx. You can let them go.
So
But they
not
were
a rogue
lurking on our
changeling?
grounds. In the old days, I would have already feasted on their love.
Well, that's why they're called the old days, because they're old. We don't do that anymore.
This is
I like
interesting.
the old days better.
What are you two doing here?
We wanted to surprise you. Surprise!
I'm confused.
Well, it's great to see you. I'm sorry about the welcome committee.
I thought Ember helped helped you get more assertive so you could deal with all the renegade changelings
Yeah,
who didn't
not
want to
that
change.
easy.
Oh, she did. Really helpful. I was able to convince all of them to change, except one of them.
Except one.
My brother.
Oh.
Your brother?
Oh!
Yep, Pharynx is my elder brother.
I should have called that.
Oh, yeah.
I should have
You guys
called
have
that.
the
I should have
same,
called.
eye shape?
What a ridiculous comparison. We are nothing alike.
That voice. I
Stop
love his
doing
voice.
that.
I look better with holes.
Wow.
Oh, well, how about I show you the rest of the hive where it's less loud and bangy?
Sure.
There have been a lot of changes since you were here last. I'm trying to start some new activities since the only thing we did before was haunted patrol. There's theater. Swing dancing. A
Nice.
once-a-week potluck lunch. Ooh, and who
I
can
approve.
change shape and organize craft time? This guy.
I'm really impressed, Thorax. The hive, all the activities.
Really?
He did it again. Pharynx dumped an entire can of black paint on me. He
Aw.
said my fuchsia color wasn't intimidating to our enemies. Enemies.
I am so sorry. I promise I'll talk to him.
Fuchsia
You're the
color.
ruler of the hive, Thorax. You need to do more than talk.
Ooh.
Maybe not everything here is amazing.
Seriously, Thorax, what is up with your brother?
Pharynx used to be head of patrol, but now we're peaceful and there's no need to patrol, so he just stalks around the hive making everyone miserable. The other changelings are sick of it, and if I can't get them to accept love and friendship and change like the rest of us, everything I've done here is at risk.
Fine.
I know a thing or two about what it's like to be outsiders. Maybe we could talk to him for you.
This is
You
true.
really think you could help?
Thorax, if there's any pony who can help your brother, it's me. And with Starlight helping, it might take slightly longer, but I guarantee you we can do it.
The ego.
Thorax, we're ready to
The
start
ego
work
continues.
on the trail of plants to lead the Malwarf away.
No, I have to head outside. You're sure you're okay handling Pharynx?
Absolutely.
It's more like a rap
Yeah,
talk.
we totally got this.
It's interesting. We've now had a Royal Sisters episode. Here we have a Royal Brothers episode, sort of.
So, how do you want
This guy's got anger
You're
issues.
thinking good pony, bad pony? You yell and blast him with magic.
R-
Well, my natural
Trixie,
charisma
no,
will convince him
no.
that...
No.
Starlight?
How about we talk to him first?
Hey, Pharynx! I know when we first met, it didn't go so well.
I put you in a bag. I thought it went great.
Right. So, not a big fan of the vines, huh?
I love this guy.
They're a safety hazard. An enemy could hide in them or use them as weapons. I don't even know why they're here.
Because they're pretty?
That's ridiculous.
Oh,
Naturally.
Totally. We get you. But maybe don't express how you feel by destroying them?
I don't take advice from ponies. The only thing I take from you is breakfast.
Oh.
At least I used to.
You know,
Yeah,
you're
how
a lot
does
like
he
us.
feed now?
Doubt it.
It's true. Do you know who Twilight Sparkle is?
No.
Well, she's the most well-liked, studious, do-goodiest pony in Equestria.
Your point?
Ugh, she sounds awful.
Oh, you'd hate her. I used to. She made me unsure about my place in the world, which led me to act out against her.
And I used to be a dictator who ran a village with an iron hoof.
Really? Maybe you two do understand me.
Yes, we do. But now, Trixie has come to terms with being second best. And I no longer control ponies against their will. And our lives are so much better for it.
Wow, so you're both
Trixie's like, speak for
losers.
yourself.
Stay away from me or I'll do to you what I did to the vines.
Wow.
Well, Operation Lead Malwarf Away is coming along. How'd it go with
Okay.
Pharynx?
Your brother is, challenging.
Oh, that bad, huh?
It wasn't great.
You want to talk it out? You can come with me to the Feelings Forum.
The
The
fake
what?
what now?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's a place for changelings to express their feelings so we all gain a better understanding of each other.
Oh, boy.
It's really helped bring the Hive closer together.
Changelings Anonymous.
Sometimes I feel like I'm a blue changeling. Sometimes I feel like I'm a purple changeling. But here I am, a green one. You can be anything you want to be.
You can
be blue one day
change
and purple the next. Be both on the same day. But then I feel like
We need
do
Tree
it a
Hugger in
lie.
here.
It's very brave of you to share something so personal. Does anyone else have similar concerns?
Who does that voice?
I used to, but craft time has given me such a creative outlet. I feel great now.
Everyone loves craft time.
Oh, boy.
Well, everyone except for you-know-who.
Yeah, you know who spends all his craft time making spears.
He's scary and intimidating. You-know-who makes me uncomfortable.
He makes us all uncomfortable.
Everyone, please! I understand Pharynx can be challenging at times.
That's an understatement. He lined the hallway with thorns.
He teaches little changelings to growl and hiss.
My
Aw.
soup's too hot.
Really?
What? I thought the feelings forum was for sharing our problems.
It sounds like your lame feelings forum is for talking about me behind my back.
There are no words for
The
this.
feelings forum is for talking about anything that's bothering you. Is there something you'd like to share, Pharynx?
Actually, there is. The changelings used to be a fearsome swarm. Now we sit around talking about our feelings so much you can't even stop a malware from eating all your pretty plants. I could have sent that thing packing before, but I guess now we'll just try to lead it away and hope that keeps us safe.
I don't feel safe.
Definitely
with him
seeing a
around.
problem here.
I'd feel safer if he were gone.
I can't do that.
We want him finished!
Hey, my soup's cooled down. These feeling forums are great for solving problems.
Everyone,
There's got to be a happy medium in here somewhere.
we are interrupting each other. We are not affirming each other.
Yeah, that did it.
Feelings forum is over!
Wow, okay. It's like they've gone from one extreme to the other. Vicious,
I want to say something.
and now, like,
But it goes against
pure pacifist,
everything I've
and
been
it's
taught as Twilight's pupil.
too far of a swing.
Ooh, then by all means say it.
I think Pharynx is a lost cause.
I'm all for second chances. Third even, but he just seems like a bad bug.
And Thorax has a duty to the whole Hive, not just his brother.
If he keeps sticking up for Pharynx, the Hive might decide they don't want Thorax as their leader.
I think he might have to kick Pharynx out. But I don't want to be the one to tell Thorax
Starlight,
that.
you're giving up too easy.
Me neither. But some pony probably should. I nominate you.
Of course. Ooh. Oops.
Thorax, we have something to tell you.
It's about Pharynx, isn't it?
Interesting throne.
Look, I know he's an aggressive warrior type, but when I was little, every young changeling wanted to be like that.
Ooh, backstory. Okay.
Every young changeling
Except him.
except me. The others would pick on me for
Wait,
not wanting to fight.
was that? Is that a mini
Just
spike?
little Grab playing with his dollies.
How did he didn't even know Spike back then?
Step away from my brother.
But Pharynx never let them hurt me.
Oh.
We were just complimenting his dollies.
Hello. Big spider.
Thanks, Pharynx.
Why are you hitting yourself? Stop hitting yourself. Why are you hitting yourself?
Ouch! Cut it out, Pharynx.
Yeah.
They're right, you know. You need to have tougher skin.
He loves his little brother,
That was
but
a really
wants him to toughen up,
sweet story.
which is
Until the
still
end.
where we're at with that.
I know Pharynx loved me, in his own way, and I know there's still good in him. That's why I keep sticking up for him. Anyway, what did you want to talk to me about?
Me? No.
Nothing.
Starlight has
Never mind.
something she...
Actually, Thorax.
Boop.
Never mind. Come on, Trixie, we've got a thing to do.
What are you doing? I thought we agreed you'd tell Thorax he had to kick his brother out of the
Nope.
hive.
Maybe we don't have to. Get Pharynx and meet me at the Hive entrance. I'll explain everything.
And how am I supposed to know where Pharynx is?
I just saw Pharynx.
Oh, well, that was easy.
Maybe ask somebody. What are you doing? I have no idea what she's doing here.
One problem to solve another. I switched the trail of plants around to lure the Mallwurf here. The changelings may not be able to stop it anymore, but Pharynx certainly can. When he attacks, he'll save his brother, showing every pony his good side. The others will accept him, and Pharynx will finally let love and friendship into his life and transform.
Sure, that's gonna happen.
I know, right? Great idea.
Eh,
Where's Pharynx?
He's gone.
it's a work in progress.
Gone to the throne room?
Gone like gone. One of the changelings said Pharynx left the hive for good.
Oh boy.
And who's gonna stop the dread Mallwurf I'm leading here?
Well, that escalated quickly.
Thorax, there you are. Pharynx is missing.
Cheering, and now.
Thorax.
And the dread Mallwurf is coming this way.
Told ya.
That doesn't make any sense. The trail of plants should have led the dread Mallwurf away.
I might have relayed them to lead it back toward the hive.
Why would you do that?
I thought if Pharynx saw you were in danger, the loving, caring side of him would come out when he protected you.
But instead he's out there alone, somewhere between us and that rampaging monster? I have to save him.
I'm coming
Way to
with
go, Thorax.
Of course you are. This is all your fault.
Oops.
Oh, don't be too hard on Starlight. Her heart was in the right place.
You're coming too.
Oh, right. I mean, I was gonna volunteer anyway.
Sure you
Who's
were.
coming?
Oh boy.
Fine.
Hey.
Oh, sure. You can all stay here, not help Pharynx.
Here we
and
go.
He won't bother you anymore. It's your choice. But remember when you didn't have a choice, when you were forced to obey Chrysalis. You might have been unstoppable, but you weren't free to choose. And now you are, because of Thorax. Well, it's his brother out there. And now it's your chance to prove you're just as strong embracing love as you were feeding on it. Now is your chance to show what changelings can really be. Not because you have to, but because you choose to!
Wow.
An amazingly epic speech, Starlight.
Yeah, it was.
I just can't believe
And nobody
a
put.
single changeling was moved by it.
I can't blame them. If he wasn't my brother, I don't think I'd be here. We're gonna have to face the Mallwurf by ourselves.
Maybe it'll be long gone and we'll find Pharynx out here alone.
Are they gonna? Are all the changelings gonna decide later to come as backup? Maybe. Well, it's it's actually a real thing.
Pharynx, what are you doing here?
That is an interesting
I'm here
creature.
to save you.
Get out of here! Let me handle this!
We're not leaving you!
Nope. And, that didn't
I may
help
have
much.
forgot to mention in my letters that Mallwurfs have really thick hides.
Aha.
I thought you said you could beat this thing.
Yeah, with the rest of the swarm, not alone!
Good thing you're not alone.
Yeah, I called it.
I told you it was an epic speech.
Yep. Just need some time to think it over. Ooh.
It's no use. We're out of practice and he's too tough.
Wow.
And strong.
Well, you can't blame her for not trying.
Fight itself.
That's it! Thorax, remember when we were young and I made you hit yourself?
Now is not the time to make fun of me, Pharynx. Oh, right. Of course.
Okay. Ooh.
Hitting yourself! Why are you hitting yourself?
Yeah, Malwarf, why are you hitting yourself?
Oh!
Why are you hitting yourself? Huh?
Oh! Yeah, now he's really mad.
Ooh, that looks like it hurts.
We did it.
Wow.
It's gone.
What were you doing out here?
Leaving. I'm done with all of you.
Oh, it's just why bother
Really?
fighting the Malwarf then? You could have left it alone.
Well, I couldn't just let it attack you.
But I thought
Because
you
you
were done
care.
with us and you didn't care.
I never said that. The Hive is the thing I care about most.
Well, you certainly don't act like it.
Well, I'm sorry if I don't get excited about pretty flowers and feeling circles and
It's a feelings forum.
whatever.
Not
It
important.
doesn't matter. Even if I do care about the Hive, I obviously don't have a place there anymore.
Actually,
Not true.
You do. Because we've been wrong. The Hive may be a gentler, nicer place.
But that doesn't mean we won't have to defend ourselves.
Exactly.
And who better to help us do that than the only changeling who never stopped protecting us?
Oh.
You all want me to stay?
He's
Unless you
He's gonna
still
change.
want to leave the Hive.
gonna transform.
Why would I want that? I love the Hive.
Yes! 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 Is he gonna have this? Ooh!
He did it! He transformed!
Yes! Yes!
I always knew you had it in
D-
you.
It's just,
Because I thought you said I was a lost cause.
It's just like Celestial Luna.
Pharynx had to kick me out.
Oh, Starlight! How could you say that? What?
Trixie.
I mean, but you.
Lucky for us, you weren't a lost cause.
Lucky for me.
Right under the bus.
Didn't give up on me.
Wow.
So, glad everything worked out.
Yeah! Let's talk about how you not only led the Malwarf to the Hive, but also drove my brother away from it.
I am so sorry about that. But I would like to point out that my admittedly terrible plan did bring everything together in the end.
Hey, do you guys want to hear the
Just
story
like with the
about how he used to
sisters.
make Thorax hit himself?
Absolutely, yes, right now.
Well, when we were young, every changeling wanted to be a warrior. Except for Thorax. He was a little weak, and I had to protect him.
Great episode. Fantastic episode. The parallels with Celestia and Luna are amazing. Oh my word. This one's gonna take a while to process. It really is. I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch this a few times here, but I will just say there's hardly anything on my wish list for the season that has not been granted now. I mean, this is insane. I think about the only thing that I still want to see is the CMCs called by the cutie map, if you can even call it that anymore. So yeah, coming up with a wish list for season 8 is going to be hard, guys, if this season keeps going. But anyway, yeah, I will just stay tuned. I will be right back for you guys with thoughts on this once I have time to figure stuff out. Later. All right, guys, this was a fantastic episode. A truly, truly great piece of writing, in my opinion. Might not have been quite the bombshell episode like we've seen with some of the others this season, like A Royal Problem, The Perfect Pair, Fame and Misfortune, but this really is not too far behind them, in my opinion. Yes, there are things that might have been predictable, but I'm sure somebody can always nitpick and find issues with these stories, but the lessons in this episode, the story here connected with a lot of things in the real world in a very interesting way, and once I fully kind of wrap my head around this is one of the best episodes that is out there, and really speaks to a lot of individuals in this fandom, I think. At the very least, there's a very good message for us in this fandom in this episode. And hopefully as I get through this here, you'll kind of understand where I'm coming from on some of this, because it may not be immediately apparent. And I gotta tell you, I did something a little bit different here, rather than just some scattered notes that I'm trying to get through to help guide my commentary and thought process. I've actually pretty much written down exactly what I want to say, because this is one of those times where I want to stay focused on topic and not just start rambling on things. So I'm hoping this will work well. So, to get started here, I loved seeing all the world building in this episode. The almost immediate continuity with Triple Threat just 2 episodes ago was very unexpected, but also very much welcomed. Seeing Thorax doing well with the Hive was quite encouraging, especially knowing that he convinced all the other renegade changelings to change and join them. The Hive have clearly solidly rejected their old lifestyle and embraced their newfound freedom. This makes sense, as it looked like the life under Chrysalis's rule was pretty lousy, and likely they just didn't see another option until Thorax came along and showed them that there was another way. Unfortunately, it appears they may have gone a little bit too far and have become complacent, no longer recognizing that there are enemies and threats in the world that they must be prepared for. We can't forget that Chrysalis is still out there, and she likely considers their transformation a complete and utter betrayal of her, and she may end up coming back and seeking revenge on them. I also couldn't help but notice that the changelings were not only mimicking pony behavior, but actually are almost a little bit closer to the G3 ponies. I know that's kind of a bold statement, but that just their complete polar opposite behavior from the warrior race that they once were to now doing these, the theater and the swing dancing. It felt a little bit, like ponies, but almost out of place even for the ponies that we know. So that was a rather interesting observation. Anyway, the only changeling that seemed to be concerned about the safety of the Hive was Pharynx, the brother of Thorax. Now, I have already been hearing some arguments regarding the use of the term brother, because theoretically all the changelings could be considered brothers and sisters. However, Thorax did state that Pharynx is his elder broodmate. A brood is a group of creatures that were all hatched at the same time. So it seems that in this society, fellow broodmates are considered more immediate family, and members of other broods are either more extended family or perhaps just comrades or some such thing. So overall, this does make sense. Not something that we really need to get too hung up on as a detail. Now, Pharynx himself is a rather interesting character. According to Thorax, he was the head of patrol, which I assume means he was a high-ranking character, high-ranking changeling under Chrysalis, perhaps even her second in command. As such, he clearly has a military mindset and is always on the lookout for threats to the Hive. He wasn't heartless, as he showed that he very much cared about the safety and well-being of the Hive, regardless of who was in charge. But he was disheartened by the complacency of his fellow changelings, and sought to go back to the way things used to be. From his perspective, he probably saw what was once a strong and proud race turning into weaklings, and thought that the only way to restore their glory was to go back to the old ways, despite the obvious downsides. At this point, I do have to say that there is an interesting parallel between Pharynx and members of our armed forces that come home and attempt to reintegrate into civilian society. While I can't begin to understand what they go through, I can imagine that they hold a very different view of the world than civilians, having been trained to always be on the lookout for threats to themselves and their comrades and loved ones. I imagine it being very difficult to let go of that mindset and not get frustrated at how carefree many civilians are, seemingly completely unaware of many of the dangers that do exist in this world. And I expect many former members of the military can very much relate to this situation greatly. In fact, I do have to say that a buddy of mine linked me to a post on the Military Bronies Facebook page where somebody in the armed services, or at least formerly in the armed services, basically went on a little rant to this effect. And that for me was a very eye-opening experience. I had not at all considered the angle of that on this, but it does make sense. The real issue here, though, is the fact that Pharynx refused to consider any part of the new lifestyle to be worthwhile. He didn't share any of their new interests, and was instead focused on a single goal that none of the rest of them seemed to share. His unwillingness to consider their viewpoint of the situation created an impasse. On the flip side, the other changelings couldn't seem to understand his perspective either, having seemingly forgotten about the fact that there are still threats to their society. They were once soldiers themselves, so it wasn't as if they couldn't relate, but as I said before, they have now rejected that old lifestyle and didn't want any part of that way of life anymore. Of course, the possibility of Chrysalis coming back for revenge should have been a concern for them, but that didn't seem to be on the radar screens at all. They only saw Pharynx as a rude individual who refused to participate in their desired activities and just wanted him to either play nice or leave. Ultimately, this became a situation where neither party recognized that they had common ground and sought only to try and force their differing viewpoints on the opposite party, which is a recipe for complete failure. Now, this is where I have to take a little step back from the episode and point out how deeply this relates to the Brony fandom as a whole. This fandom often preaches inclusiveness and tolerance, but these words get misused a lot these days, and I've wondered if we actually do practice what we preach. There are fans here from all walks of life, and the hope is that we can recognize that our differences do not solely define us, and that we can come together in friendship on common ground, sharing our differences in a respectful manner, and learning from each other, rather than figuratively slamming the door in each other's faces over a single difference of opinion on something. I've been to several conventions at this point, and as a whole, it has been a very positive experience. But the most eye-opening experience for me was at BronyCon this year. This is the first large convention that I've ever been to, and given the state of things in our world right now, specifically in regards to the highly volatile political atmosphere, I couldn't help but be prepared for the possibility that I would see us failing at some point to practice what we preach. This became an even more real possibility considering the events that occurred in Charlottesville, Virginia on the very same weekend as BronyCon. But instead, quite the opposite happened. The details are not important of what I observed, but suffice it to say, I saw no squabbles, no fights, no protests of any sort, only people that are choosing to ignore for a time the problems of this world, and as cheesy as it sounds, focusing on sharing the magic of friendship with each other. This gives me just a little bit of hope that things in this world may not be quite as bad as I see on the news every day, and that there are those of us who actually are taking lessons on the show to heart and applying those as best as we can in our own personal lives. We won't ever always agree with one another on everything. That's just never going to happen. But we shouldn't, because without differing viewpoints, we would never learn anything. Considering different viewpoints expands our own understanding of the people and the world around us. I am happy to say that I have friends in this fandom who share some of my beliefs, but also others who do not share all of my beliefs and viewpoints. But they are still my friends. And I believe that this is possible because we have decided that it's better to share our differing viewpoints and try to learn from each other rather than, while also sharing in our common interests, than it is to try and force our viewpoints on each other and cut off all ties if we just can't succeed in convincing the other party to change their mind. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree on things, and that's okay. Sometimes that's a legitimate course of action, but walking away from each other over a disagreement doesn't accomplish anything, nor does trying to force your own viewpoint on somebody else. That just always ends up going bad somehow. Now, all that said, coming back to the episode, Pharynx and the other changelings were at an impasse, and were about to part ways. This would have been bad for both parties because Pharynx would have been all on his own, with no friends or family to speak of, and the others would likely have continued with their carefree lifestyle, completely unprepared for the dangers that would inevitably threaten their existence. Fortunately, Starlight, for all the mistakes that she made in this episode, made a big comeback with that awesome, inspiring speech, which, by the way, appears to be a reference to Braveheart. This was a truly epic moment in this episode, where we got to see the good part of the old Starlight resurface, the part where she's a very strong and confident leader. She reminded them of how they are supposed to be acting, and dared them to have the courage to choose to do the right thing. You know, before they had no choice in the way that they acted. Now they do have a choice. It's sometimes making that choice and making that stand for what's right and good isn't so difficult when you don't have somebody behind you pushing you at that. Fortunately, they did listen to her and finally recognized that they do need to be able to deal with situations that threaten their safety. Pharynx then found himself being welcomed with open arms for the first time, and in turn embraced the change himself, finally transforming into his new form. By opening their minds to consider other viewpoints, they learned from each other and found common ground and became stronger friends as a result. I also love the fact that Pharynx's form is different than the others, and that his color scheme is much more subdued, toned down type of colors. I think this speaks to the fact that he is still different from the rest of the changelings, yet he is also accepted as a part of their society despite those differences. He may never be inclined to do swing dancing or arts and crafts or any of those things, but he is still one of them, and they're sharing their love with him. They accept him, and look up to him for leadership and protection, and that's all that really matters. Really, I think the big takeaway from this is that while it's not wrong to have our own beliefs, we shouldn't so easily dismiss and condemn those who don't share those beliefs, because you never know what we might be able to learn if we just stop and listen to each other rather than giving up and walking away. So just an absolutely, like I said, fantastic message in this episode for us. Great reminder of what we're all about and what we need to continue to be vigilant in and push forward on. Now, all that said, on a side note, I just have to say that I am very pleasantly surprised to see that one of on Twilight's hypothetical scenarios all the way back in Season 1, Celestial Advice, actually came true. Twilight theorized that she might be able to send Starlight to help the changelings adjust to their new way of life by teaching them the art of compromise to help them get over their competitiveness. While this didn't exactly play out like Twilight imagined, Starlight did help settle conflict with the changelings by helping to create a compromise of sorts. I never expected to see any of these hypothetical scenarios actually play out, but it was fun to see. And I'm especially glad that it turned out okay in the end, as it almost went the direction that Twilight had feared in the first place. Interestingly, this is also, to my knowledge, only the second episode in the entire series to not feature a single member of the main six, the first being On Your Marks back in Season 6. So just a fun little factoid there. And you know, honestly, it didn't even feel like anything was missing or wrong anything. I did say at the beginning of the episode that I wanted to see Discord in here, and obviously he did not appear, but I'm honestly fine with that, because I don't think he really would have added anything to the story, and it probably would have just distracted from it, and quite honestly, we already had a great Discord episode just a little while ago with Discord and Harmony, so I'm not unhappy in that at all. And as far as Trixie goes, she will clearly always be Trixie, and I'm mostly okay with that. You know, I do think she's rather fortunate, though, to have a friend in Starlight, because, you know, here, seeing her desire to take all the credit while shoving all of the blame on Starlight, you know, that type of behavior would not be very well tolerated by just anyone. And, you know, I don't ever want her to change entirely. You know, she is who she is, and she's awesome in her own way. But it still would be nice to see her eat, you know, a little bit of humble pie once in a while to, you know, she's got some growing to do just like the rest of us, you know. So, yeah, that is pretty much this entire episode in a nutshell. And hey, for once I stayed on topic and didn't ramble for forever, so yay! And I'm sure there's lots of fun, there's lots of fun little details that I would like to kind of pick apart and discuss and whatever, but ultimately that stuff really isn't all that important at this point. I gotta say, I am really taking to heart the lesson that we learned back in Fame and Misfortune, and I'm trying to force myself to not get too hung up on insignificant little details and instead focus on what's truly important, which is the lessons that are provided for us. So, I thank you all for listening. I hope you got something out of this, little speech that I had here, and yeah, this season, as I've said before, just keeps getting better and better. The writing is just super on point. Great lessons, great world building, great story progression. I cannot wait to see what is left in the season for us. So I look forward to the next episode, whenever that might become available. So, well, obviously next weekend, duh. But I can't wait to see what they have next for us on the list. It's really hard to imagine the season getting any better than it already is, but they just keep outdoing themselves. So I look forward to it. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I hope you all have a great night, and I will catch you again very soon. Later.